easiest way is just try to act like Jesus. Just try to do what he did, which something I struggle with all the time. And I wrestle with, like, am I really reaching the standard that I need to try to be reaching, or am I knowingly falling short?
Let him shine. Let him shine.
Let 'em Shine podcast. We're back and we're excited about it. We've got the pastor's son with us now. Jed, welcome aboard.
Thank you. So excited.
What's it like being a pastor's son?
I mean, I don't really have anything to compare it to. I've only really
That's
been
fair.
a pastor's
That's fair.
son. I don't know. You get to stay super late at church events and clean up afterwards and all that fun stuff.
And we appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Of course, of course.
But and how old are you now?
I'm 16. I just turned 16.
That's what I thought. So let's start there. What's it first your story, your upbringing. What's it like being a 16-year-old in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my upbringing, lived in the same house my whole life. My grandpa built the church here, and my dad's now the lead pastor. I've grown up in that church my whole life. Been a Christian growing up. Got baptized when I was like 7 or something like that, I think. I mean, I don't know, nothing super special. I go to Mission Christian Academy up in Fishers.
Shout out MCA.
Yeah. I play basketball, hang out with friends. I don't know. Pretty normal stuff.
And we'll have to get I think we'll have to get your grandfather on here at some point and tell that story, because that's really cool.
That is a fun story to listen to.
But being a teen in today's environment, it's tricky enough being a teenager in general, right? But in today's environment, what's that like? What's it like going to school? Obviously, we're going to talk about the pressures and the things that are thrown at young people nowadays. But kind of give me a glimpse of an overview of what that's like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super blessed I get to go to a 3-day school. I can't imagine
That's awesome.
going to a 5-day public school. And super blessed I get to go to a Christian school where I don't get attacked for my values or have to defend my values, in the sense that, like, that's just not what people agree with and stuff, for the most part at least, which is great. But I mean, honestly, even in a Christian school, there's still a lot of, especially with faith, there's a lot of people that say they're Christians, will say all the right things and still very clearly show opposite with their lifestyle. And that's hard to navigate, because I've had some of those people be super close friends with me and navigate kind of what I want to do in those relationships and friendships and different things, like how important you can let someone be to you if they aren't honoring God in the way that you feel like they should be, you know?
Yeah.
My dad's the Bible teacher there, so I get to
Okay.
be there early every morning, which personally I like. I mean, I would like to get to sleep in a little bit more, but
No.
I get to hang out with my friends there earlier. So I mean, yeah.
But I like that you said, or it reminded me of something. Say one thing with your mouth and do something different. I think that, in a nutshell, is what brings people away from Christ a lot of times. Like, oh yeah, I went to church one time and that guy rubbed me the wrong way, or he did this, and that's not how I think Christians should be. And I don't think we should view it that way, but I think it happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, I heard a statistic. I don't know how true it is. Don't trust everything you see on the internet. But like, the biggest factor that brings people away from Christ is Christians not acting in a Christ-like way, right?
Yeah.
But I think the thing about that is, people all the time will be like, I went to church and got rubbed the wrong way by a person.
Mhm.
That's kind of what pulled me away. I think that's not, yes, I don't support the person who's not acting that way, but I would also say we all have our own struggles. I definitely don't act like a Christian all the time to outwardly just viewing me. So I can't condemn anyone. We aren't called to condemn anyone. But I mean, I think that's also a sign in the person who got rubbed the wrong way of how their small glimpse of Christianity, in a sense of, you're letting it be exemplified by an imperfect person and letting that choose how you view God, in a sense. And I think that's the most important part.
Mhm.
Like, if you're looking at Christianity and you're like, I'm going to go hang out with Christians, and if they're the type of people that, like, they're acting the right way, that's what's going to, like, make or break Christianity for me, then there's no point in that religion, because you aren't believing in a God, you're believing in a people.
I love that. I love that, because you're right. We're not perfect. Nobody is. That's what's so great about Jesus Christ. That's awesome. And I forgot what I was gonna say, but it was gonna be pretty good.
I'm
But
sure.
that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. But no, I like that a lot because I've heard some friends say that before in the past where it's yeah, they upset me. And so I can't go to there. I
Mhm.
can't believe in that. So as followers of Christ, especially in school, how do you be a positive example? Because there is some you do need to show people let him shine, right? Like that's
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
point of the point of
Right,
the
right.
shows. You do need to so how do you lead by example, I guess?
Yeah, I think as hard, especially, like, even as a teenager, like, especially as a teenager, that's really hard because
Yeah.
I feel like myself included, you let your friends or just who's, like, popular kinda control a little bit, like, what you think of yourself or what you think is right, wrong, cool, or not, right?
Mm.
So I think that's really hard. I mean, easiest way is just try to act like Jesus. Just try to do what he did, which something I struggle with all the time, and I wrestle with, like, am I really reaching the standard that I need to try to be reaching, or am I knowingly falling short? Because that's a hard thing to decide for yourself, and good conviction, I would say, of just, like, if especially if you know how you should be acting and you're letting it be affected by what other people are saying or what other people are thinking. And I was reading a book about purity and different stuff, and actually the last chapter was all about, like, letting your society kind of control how you act in public or stuff to really just grow closer to God. And I
Mhm.
think the line that I liked in it was talking about, like, if you go, like, you really lock in with God and you really, like, try to follow him super hard, but then you, like, it's very common, like, you go to a Christian camp and you get, like, really close to God, and then you come back, and after about
Yeah.
a week, you're not even, like, you're worse off than you were before sometimes, like, just not even close to the standard that you knew you had to be at the week prior. And it said that, like, if you aren't sticking that out, you aren't giving a chance for people to adjust to you, because sure, people, like, for that first, like, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people are gonna, like, have problems with, like, if you're a guy who, like, drinks and then you go somewhere, get saved, and, like, a heavy drinker, and, like, you go somewhere, get saved, and you feel like God's calling you away from that and you quit drinking. When you
Mhm.
come back, you're gonna have a lot of problems with your friends if they all like going out to a bar and getting drunk and having a good old time, right? Like,
Yep.
you're gonna have a
Yep.
really hard time, and that'll take adjustment on their part. But if you come back and they're like, maybe we don't hang out with you tonight, or why don't you go do something else with your other friends? Maybe you don't have any other friends, right? That's a hard part to get adjusted to. So I would just say, like, that is hard, but I think if you give God time, he'll either, I mean, you're a light to those people if they're really seeing you, like, especially when you're
Yeah.
sticking out a change, but God will also open up other doors to other relationships and other groups of people that won't, like, they won't make fun of your faith, and they'll try to help you.
100%. And it took me like 34 years to figure it out, but I actually have Romans 12:2 on my wrist. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be
Mm,
transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that is so good because everyone's like, hey, it's cool to drink. It's cool to smoke. It's cool to do what fill in the blank, right? And that is such a hard thing. People are like, no, that's not. That's not how we're supposed to be acting. But you wouldn't know that if you were in, unless you were in the Word,
right,
you're following Christ. So I want to go there. How do you keep good habits? How do you stay close to God? Because you use an example of where you maybe you go to a camp or you do something, but the same could be true for a basketball camp
right,
or anything else. You're dialed in for those few days, and then you come
right.
back and you slack a little bit. So how do you stay dialed in your faith?
Yeah, yeah. I would say for the past, like, 2 years probably, I've had, like, a nightly reading my Bible
Okay.
routine and praying and routine and stuff, and I would say, but there's definitely days where I'll skip or I'll miss, or, like, a week that I'll be struggling with stuff and just kinda push it off and be like, I can't deal with this right now. I don't want the conviction that it'll bring me," right? And so that's been hard, but, like, especially if you're coming back from a Christian camp or stuff, I had a experience with that this summer with, my my school. We did a summer camp, and me and my friend baptized my other friend at, like, 12:30 at night in a
That's
lake
awesome.
where we were not supposed to be at all, but great experience. But then I came back from that camp, and the week before, like, the camp, I'd been really struggling with some stuff, really, like, not feeling close to God. So then going to that camp and then feeling that, like, super overwhelming, like, fullness in your life with that like closeness, right? Was definitely super cool. And then I came back and I kind of almost believed that God would just keep that going with me in a sense that like I could just stay what I was doing before, but because I had that experience, God would just stick with that because obviously that was better. And which does not work. You have to change some stuff up. I think I definitely have not been great at trying to like keep a strong connection after deep in the moments until like I'd say the last month I've been getting better at it. But I mean honestly like I think the biggest thing is really just praying and really giving stuff to God because if you're like open handed towards Him, He'll
Mm.
show you what to do and He'll give you things to do. And you need to bring people into your life like maybe people already in your life, but you need to bring them into that space where they can help you stay committed or they can help you not just backslide.
And I'm curious, maybe you haven't, but I'm curious because who you have around you is so important. You bring up a great point, especially at your age. You got friends of all over the place, right?
Right.
Have you had a certain situation where you've had to say, "Hey, I can't be friends with this person," or cut that person off, or end that relationship, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say I don't remember having any verbal conversations with
Hmm.
someone, but I've definitely had some times where that's been shown through actions and
Sure,
choices, right? Like there's been friends that like I'm like, this is not okay. Like this I just not gonna go into depth or say any names, of course,
sure,
but
yeah, good for you.
like
That's good.
there's just things that are like you know that like it might not even be something that's necessarily wrong, but it's something that's just not a healthy friendship and not someone who really is caring for you through their actions as a real friend would. Or maybe they're just going off the deep end in other areas of life. And you're just I just tend to distance myself from people more than like just setting like a clear hard boundary. I just over time just kind of stop pushing for a friendship as hard as I was, and people tend to get the message.
Yeah.
And there's also times where there's healing in that relationship after times, and that friendship will grow to stronger than it was before, and it will get better and better.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Well, I was going to ask, then how do you recognize that and say, "Hey, I can't be associated with this, but maybe this is an opportunity to plant the seed," right? And let God start working, whether it's immediate or it's years down the road. Have you had a scenario where you had the opportunity to plant a seed? And, you mentioned, I do want to go back to the baptism story because that's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
But have you had the opportunity to kind of minister to some friends that might need it the most?
Yeah, yeah. I would say my friend, this guy I've known for really, really long time. Well, I guess not really that long, but like a third of my life, which for me, pretty long time. But me and him we were like just kind of like surface friends for a while. Like just guys you kind of just see around, but you don't necessarily hang out with
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
talk to all the time. We all have surface friends. But then there was let's say this camp that happened where me and him just he definitely made a lot of mistakes in a lot of things that I hope and pray that he really regrets.
Hmm.
And after that camp, me and him would talk for like an hour a day, probably or something, just randomly, or maybe longer at just a random time, and just talk about God for a while and just kind of like talk through things and stuff. And I would say there was a lot like before that camp, because me and him have been friends for a few years before. But during that time, I was starting to distance myself from him just because of the fruit of his life was not making
Yeah.
me a better person. I wasn't necessarily worried that I was becoming him, but I didn't even want to give that a chance, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of starting that process, and that happened, and there was some healing there, but I wouldn't say it was super strong devotion by him. It was kind of more like I know I need to get out of this, but I don't really want to, but I'll like talk with people about it just so like it seems like I can say I'm trying, if that makes sense. And then he kind of went off the deep end for a lot of stuff and like lost all relationship there for
Hmm.
a while. And I haven't talked to him for a long time, but I've I just don't have like any way to communicate with him right now. But I've heard from some places that he seems to be making some really good, healthy strides in his life. So I'm hopeful for that, and hopefully I get a chance to talk to him sometime and just kind of see what's up. And I'm praying for that a lot.
That's awesome.
Mm.
I think the message there is to anybody, it's our job is to plant the seed. right?
Mhm.
Plant the seed, water the seed, God will bring the increase. Sometimes it takes time.
Right, and
It
I think
takes time.
it's important to just be open to it. Like, I definitely get like I distance myself from people, but it's not like if they would ever come to me for something, I'd just be like, "No, we're done." It's important, like, sure, you maybe don't let
Yeah.
that person have as much of your life as they used to, but if they ever come and they're trying to talk or they're trying to get help or something, like Jesus tells us to forgive people 7 times 7 or whatever that is. I don't really remember, but like there's no room in a Christian faith to be like, I've tried too many times with this person, I'm just done. Like, sure, you don't maybe get as attached or as hopeful, and you don't get your hopes up super high just to get crashing down because of what their past has been. But you're still very open to helping them walk the walk and try to get back up and keep going.
I think about that all the time. Think about what I've done to people or what they've done to me in the past. And I'm like, who am I to not forgive?
Right.
Right after what I've done, and Jesus forgave me. It's like that's part of it too. So great point. But I do want to go back. And the whole point of having you on here was to inspire others that are around your age that can make a positive impact. And whether it's public school or Christian school, doesn't
Mhm.
matter. But the baptism, you had the opportunity to. I know you weren't supposed to be out there, so you're breaking the rules a little bit. But hey, what a great reason to break the
Yeah, I
rules.
mean,
I want you to expand on that. Like, what? Tell us the whole story because it's super cool. Obviously, no, you don't have to say names or anything,
right.
but like, where were they coming from? Where were they at in their faith? Like, what kind of walk us through?
Yeah.
What?
So it was a trip with my school camp,
Mm.
and it was like a 5-day summer camp or something like that, maybe 4 days. And so we got up there. It's pretty normal first night worship service. Did a little like session, and then the next like 2 days were just kind of the same. Like we had 3 worship services or 2 or 3 in a day. I can't really remember exactly. But during the night, me and my other friend would have talks with our counselors. Travis is a college guy, but I was in a cabin with like 8 other 8th grade freshmen guys, I think. And me and my friend would go outside and talk with Travis for like 2 hours, like every night, or just separately or whatever. And he was open to pretty much anything to talk about. And we had a lot of deep talks with him that helped me a lot with my faith. But then, so during that process, it was kind of like I was definitely growing closer to God, or like I felt like I was coming closer to God, like learning new perspectives and ways to go about things to really change your faith a little bit. And I would say before that week, I wasn't necessarily thinking that there was something wrong with my faith. I was just kind of like, I don't really know what else I could be doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's also interesting that like, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked real quick, but I think that's also interesting that like there, it's not always that we need to like change what we're doing. It's just the way we go about it. Like when you read like I wouldn't say back then I was reading like 3 chapters a night in my
Mhm.
Bible,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
reading a Psalm and New Testament stuff, but I wasn't reading to learn or be convicted. It was just like, this is what church tells me to do, and
Mm.
I'm supposed to get closer to God if I do this, so I might as well just do this, right? But then as I've gotten like grown in my faith, it's turned into more of like,
Mm.
that is like, Christians talk all the time about like, wanting to hear God's voice in their life or wanting God to
Yeah.
speak to them. And
Yep.
that is quite literally, God wrote out something exactly to speak to us. So if you ever want to hear God's voice, you should get in the Bible and really
Amen.
just think like, what is God trying to tell me? Not like, God, just talk to me right now. Just really look and think like, how does this apply to my life? Right. But either way, back to the
No,
baptism
that was
story.
great.
But yeah, so it's just a pretty normal thing. And then it was a great, super fun week. I built some awesome friendships, and it was the last night of camp, and we were gonna leave the next morning. So it was we had a like game time before, and then a we had a worship service, and it was kind of like that end of camp vibe where everyone's just so exhausted, but they're so into the
Yep.
worship. Everyone's
Yep.
got their hands up or eyes closed, just singing, right? Feeling that closeness to God. Great feeling. But it was a really cool night. And I went outside with my principal, and I was crying, praying with him for a little bit, just with things in my life that I needed to take care of. So incredible for like, I was like, I finished that prayer time with him and I'm like, wow, God, this has been such a great day. That is one of the best, like the best spiritual experience I've probably
Mhm.
ever
For
had.
sure.
And I was like, this, oh my gosh, well, I guess I got what I asked for from this camp. I can just go home the next day and be happy. But then we got through our session time and we went and did a small group with our like room leader in our cabin. So as the Travis and then like my 8 other guys or whatever it was. And so we went, it was actually so pretty. Like we had, our room was facing the sun and it was like one wall was just a huge window pretty much. It was just so cloudy like the whole time until and the session until worship started and then the sun started to like break through the clouds like a little bit and by the end of the session it was
Yeah.
just bright. The whole session was just about God's light shining on us and stuff. And it was a really cool night. Like it was
That's
by
so
far the
cool.
best night that I've had spiritually in
I
a
love that.
sense. But so we went out there and so it was me and my friend and then our other friend who is going to get baptized later that night unbeknownst to us.
Right.
And so the friend that was really like struggling, it was just awful night. Like just like like that face that people make when like they want to cry, but like they just can't physically like
Mhm. Yeah.
understand what their emotions are in a
Yeah.
sense. And I was just saying, like he was just like completely like didn't talk, just kind of stared, but was also like insanely locked into everything that our like counselor said, which was just weird because he's not like I've known him for a while and he wasn't like ever a super like spiritual guy.
Mhm.
Like I wouldn't say he was a bad person, but he was definitely more worldly in a sense,
Yeah.
right? So that was it was just like a weird I was sitting there watching and I'm like I feel like something weird is gonna happen. So I didn't know what. I was just very very confused. And then we finished our last small group for the camp and we all prayed together. And then me, Travis, and then my 2 friends, we all the 4 of us prayed together for a little bit after the small group without the rest of our cabin. And then my friend started crying and then my other friend started crying and I was just like just still just kind of praying, just smiling like God, what's happening? And then so we asked that we just kind of were alone for a little bit. So our counselor left us and he went to go. There was some other cool spiritual stuff that happened with guys that night, which I'm super glad that he left us for a little bit, but that's completely off topic. But so then the sun was still just setting. It was like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock or something like that. I don't really remember. But, and so there was just this huge field out to the sunset. So we all just kind of walked out there and my 2 friends were just starting to just cry like crazy because my one friend was crying just because of he was just feeling like God and stuff. And
Mm.
my other friend was crying because he's been praying for him for so long to just kind of have an experience like this. And so then we all kind of sat in the grass and I prayed for them while they were just crying into each other's shoulders pretty much. And then, um, my friend who was gonna get baptized that night just said he wanted to walk for a minute out,
Mhm.
just a little bit away and
Yeah.
think by himself. So then me and my other friend just kind of sat in silence. I started breaking down at that point too. So then I was crying, he was crying, but we were both just praying separately for like, I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes out there, just waiting for him to walk back. And so he walked back. We had a really good talk. We prayed more together, just exchanged some stuff just as like a reminder. But coolest, like I've never been like personally there for like I hear those stories about transformations in people and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was wild, right? And so we're all sitting there talking and he opened up to us about like how the past, I don't know, probably month or two. He's not been in a great space mentally for a long time, but like the past month, it's just been very dark in his life. Like just even said like some spiritual darkness that he felt like he could
Mhm.
visibly see
Mhm.
sometimes and stuff like just like intense depression and just
Yeah.
different stuff like that I won't go into, but just some really dark stuff. And so we just sat and all prayed together for like a long time and just talked and we couldn't keep it together. We were crying so much. Like I didn't know I could cry that much, honestly. But so then we all got up and then we just started walking and we were all just talking about like how good God is and different stuff, just praying together still. And then my friend is like, "My gosh, guys, there's a lake right here. Do you want to go get baptized?" And it was like 11:30, just like pitch black outside. And very clearly that day, they'd been like, no swimming at night. Don't even go by the lake.
I was gonna say you're not swimming.
But and so it was also camp. It had like a inflatable iceberg, like 30 feet that you would climb up and jump off. Okay. And so my friend's idea was like, guys, you know what we should do? We should get baptized and then we should go jump off the iceberg to celebrate. And I was like, no, 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 no. I'm all for getting into the lake to getting baptized, but I'm not trying to get kicked out
Right.
8 hours before we have to leave. So then it was so funny. The next day they were like, Jed, I really think God put you there so that we wouldn't go jump off the iceberg at 11:30 at night and like kill ourselves.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, yeah,
the sensible one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they're both very emotional. We all were very emotional. But so we all went. There was another group, not like with our school or anything, there by the lake that night. So they all just kind of stared at us as we just like walked right by them. Only place to go was the lake, like past them. They're like on the beach. So we just walked by them. They're just kind of like, were very confused watching us, but they were fine. And they didn't tell on us, luckily. So we just kind of, he had us throw stones into the lake. Like we each got one stone just for different meanings and stuff like that, which was a
Yeah.
cool thing that he wanted to do. And then we got, oh my gosh, the mud was so, like, it was past my quads. Like, it was so thick and deep. We smelled so bad after that. It was terrible, but it's totally worth it. But so we all went in there and me and my friend baptized him. We all prayed in there for a little bit. And then, because we all wore our socks in because,
Yeah.
why not?
Of course.
Our socks and stuff were just destroyed. So we got out and then took off our socks and shoes and then just ran across the camp barefoot. It was a crazy night. And then we went back. Everyone was asking where our shoes and socks were because we went back into the
Well,
auditorium that we were in. And then there was a lot of breakthroughs that happened in people's lives. So then that night, there was a group of like 40 of us, like boys, girls, all of them, that we all just sat in a circle with our arms around each other, like singing or praying. And I think everyone cried that night, probably. And
mhm.
it was crazy. My friend that got baptized, it was like very clearly when you were around him earlier that day, there was a lot of heaviness, a lot of spiritual darkness. And then
Yeah.
like you could ask anyone that was there that night, they're like, it was like a 5-year-old kid came back that just got a lollipop. And he
Yeah.
was all like, he wasn't a huge smiler guy. Whole night, never saw the smile leave his face. And it was wild. And then
It's amazing.
yeah, it was crazy. It was really good.
And I'm assuming the answer to this, but have you ever been involved in that prior to that night, doing something like that? I didn't think so. That's amazing.
I've been a part of camps where like people have had those. I've never been like
Yeah.
directly
Yeah.
incorporated with it.
That's so cool. And I appreciate you sharing that 'cause
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think the big thing for me, if I could pair it into one lesson or one takeaway is you never know where anyone's at in their
Right.
journey. He was going through some stuff.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that
Right.
by like at all until that night. And
That's
then
just it. You
yeah,
don't know. But God used that moment to help him out.
yeah.
It was so cool.
It was crazy. Definitely like if I could pick like a spiritual moment, that was just like one of the coolest. That
For sure.
by far. And I think that was also cool. It was just a cool because it was like one of those nights that like you feel God's presence. Like you're
Yeah.
like it's there's no doubt there. You're just like okay. And it was funny. Me and my friend that baptized him, he was talking with people, and but me and him went back to put on some shoes to our cabins, and we're just like talking about we were just talking and praying about it like the whole time, like how wild and how good God was in that moment, like how this feeling is something that you want to chase. And I think that's a really cool thing that like that was kind of the night that I wanted to my whole childhood I've never like my dad's been a pastor, my grandpa's been a pastor, my great grandpa I think was a pastor, and then my one of my great grandpas was a missionary. There's definitely some ministry in my family.
I'd say
Just a little
so.
bit. My brother's
Yeah.
in uh going into ministry
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
But like my whole life, I'm like, I don't want to be a pastor. I don't even want to do ministry. Like that just, like I never wanted to like lose my faith in God, but I'm like,
Right.
this isn't something I want to go into. And that night I was kind of like, what else should I even go into if this is like a thing? Like, there's still like, I wouldn't say I don't want to be a pastor, like, but I want to do something to like reach. Like,
Sure.
I don't
There's all
care if it's
sorts of
like a
things you could do.
real
Yeah,
job, but like I just want to do something to like get out there, something ministry. So I don't really know what that plan is for the future. Me and God will work on that one.
for sure.
But yeah.
That's so cool.
Let 'em shine.